So here's my guitar hooked up through 100 meters of cable. Now this is a really extreme example of what happens if you don't use a buffer. Have a listen to this. Now if I just click this switch here, you listen to what happens. Guitar buffers are probably one of the most misunderstood circuits in the guitar world, but they can be a hugely important part of your guitar and amp setup. Today I've got a range of buffers to test, from vintage classics to modern well-engineered designs, along with some that have really gone deep into that tone mythology. There's two main tests that I want to do today: a short cable tone test and then a long 100 meter cable test to really put these under pressure. So here are the circuits that we're testing today. So we've got a vintage Boss circuit and then the modern Wazacraft version, which is actually quite different from the vintage Boss version. Then in the tone mythology section, we've got the TS-808 Tube Screamer buffer, then the famous Klon buffer, which is well known for being sort of the secret sauce behind a lot of people's tone, and then the Pete Cornish buffer, which is a radically different design from most buffers out there, and then a modern classic, the TC Electronics Bonafide buffer, and in the DIY section we've got the simple JFET buffer, very common one, and then Jack Orman's Super Buffer, which is designed specifically to drive long cables and heavy loads. First up, I want to explain what a buffer is and what it does, and why or why not you might need one. Let's check out what a guitar buffer is. Now I'm going to keep this as simple as possible, and bear in mind that I'm not great at drawing. Okay, so we have a guitar here. Sweet custom shop. A guitar buffer's job is to maintain the signal strength and detail so that information isn't lost along the way to your amplifier. So as soon as your guitar signal leaves your guitar, it starts losing high frequency detail, and the longer the cable, the more capacitance it sees and the worse that it gets. So if you think of it like a brand new car, let's draw a little car here. That is a sweet car. So if you think of it like a car, the further it travels, the more wear it picks up. So the journey itself is what causes the damage. So what a good buffer does, if we put a buffer in here, a good buffer doesn't add anything, it simply protects what's already there so the signal can make it to your amp in better condition. But buffers do something else just as important. They electronically isolate your guitar from anything else after that. So it helps reduce noise, buzzing, and other problems caused by long cables, pedals, or difficult loads. And here's the really important point. Once you've lost detail, you can't get it back. So if a long cable dulls your sound, turning up the treble here won't restore the missing information. It's already gone. And that's why for me buffers are about retaining detail and stability, not tone shaping. Now buffers aren't perfect, and even the best ones can influence the sound slightly. There's no such thing as a 100% transparent buffer, only better or worse designs. Okay, let's do a quick example. So I've got a 20-foot cable going from my guitar all the way to the amp, and then I'm going to put a buffer in line with that. So I'm going to have a short cable going from my guitar into the buffer, out from that into the amp, and you'll straight away hear all that top end detail come back in, even over such a short length of cable. Buffer circuits are used everywhere in the guitar world. You'll often hear about the Boss buffered bypass, but that same circuit is used in between stages inside effects pedals. Often when you turn a pedal on, you'll be going through some sort of buffer somewhere. They are even used inside tube amplifiers. Often you'll have a tube buffer stage set up before a tone stack to help stop losses through that tone stack. Anyway, let's test these out and see how they perform. I've got a couple of tests I want to put these through. Now I don't have a Pete Cornish, a Klon, or a vintage TS-808 just lying around, but what I've done is built very accurate clones of those into an enclosure along with those two DIY options, just so we can hear them and click between them in real time. The two tests we're going to do today is a short cable tone test. I want to see if there's actually any tone difference between these different buffers, and then the main event is the 100-meter guitar cable torture test. Now, I've been really looking forward to doing this one. Now, I build cables as part of my job, and I have a 100-meter drum of cable that I've made into a 100-meter long guitar cable. Now, this isn't about realism. It's just about exaggerating the problem so you can sort of hear what's actually going on. Just to be really clear here, this is a low-level guitar signal, so just because it's in a drum and coiled up isn't going to have any impact on the sound. So here's my guitar hooked up through 100 meters of cable. Now this is a really extreme example of what happens if you don't use a buffer. Have a listen to this. Now if I just click this switch here, you listen to what happens. So that's how much difference a buffer can make in your signal chain, especially if you're running some cables. Obviously not a 100-meter cable, but you're gonna really notice it over even a 30-foot cable or a 20-foot cable. You're gonna notice that top end detail start to drain away. That was actually really interesting, the difference between that bypass sound and just, this is the tube screamer buffer. It's massive really, but you know what really surprised me is that most of those buffers actually handled that 100-meter cable fine. You don't really need a special buffer to drive long cable runs. The vintage Boss one did totally fine in my opinion. The JFET one, where is it here? Definitely a little lower in output. I mean, it's known about those anyway. They're often used in between stages, inside pedals and stuff like that. The Peak Cornish one probably was my favorite. It just felt really good. There's definitely a different feel. They have different flavors. The Tube Screamer one definitely is a little tighter in the low end, but it's really marginal, you know. We're not talking huge differences here, and really over 100 meters, any of those buffers are capable of driving that. So I hope you really enjoyed this video today. I had an absolute blast making it. It just clears up so many things for me around buffers, cable runs, all that sort of thing. So that's now information that I think is quite valuable and something that going forward is going to help me with loads of different things, from design just to repairs and advice for customers and stuff like that. If you haven't already, go over and check out my Fourth Wall page. It's sort of an over the shoulder look at what I do in my day job as a full-time guitar tech. And have a great week, and we'll catch you in the next one.